welcome back to Module 2 of Let's Talk About Sex class. And in this module, we're going to be really reviewing what are the common issues that I see as a certified sex therapist in the bedroom for most couples or individuals. So there's a few. So we call them, the first one is sexual desire discrepancy, where one partner has more of a sexual desire or need for sex more frequently than the other partner. Another one is anorgasmia. So one person is not able to obtain orgasm, and there's primary anorgasmia and there's secondary anorgasmia. So primary is I've never had an orgasm, and secondary is I used to be able to and now I can't. Next one is painful intercourse. Why does pain exist and what can we do about it? Because usually I'll want to avoid if sex is painful, understandably. Another one is erectile dysfunction or inability to obtain or maintain an erection. And so usually there will be avoidance of conversation and people will start to take that personally. We definitely want to address all of those because they're very common. So let's start with sexual desire discrepancy. Sexual desire discrepancy, typically, it's not always the case, but we typically see it with the female partner. But I have had couples where the male partner will have less of a libido than the female partner. But in general, we'll see it with the female partner. Not really experiencing a high sex drive or wanting to be sexual. So first and foremost, always go and talk with your doctor about any unique conditions for you. And it's really important to know that as you age and after having children, our hormone structures can change. And especially as we head into perimenopause or into our 40s when our hormones start to drop off, that can have a huge impact on sexual desire. So we want to make sure that we rule out any of those by going to see your doctor. And it's not uncommon, unfortunately, that OBGYNs will tell you everything's fine and you're within range. So I always, it's my preference to have you see somebody who specializes in hormones and balancing your hormones, because it's not just about estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone. A lot of times it can be your stress hormones like cortisol and different things like that, your thyroid, that can have an impact on how your body, how your body handles certain hormones as they come up, and is your body producing enough, and is everything in balance? So we want to look into that. Another concern that comes up for sexual desire discrepancy is that being over touched or overstimulated and exhausted throughout the day, either because of work or household related responsibilities. And it is really important to talk with your partner about best times of the day to initiate intimacy, and ensure that if there is an imbalance in roles or expectations at home around, household responsibilities and kids and routines, that you're not talking about it when you're mad. You're talking about it when you have the time to really sit down and focus on each other, maybe going out for a date, or after the kids go to bed, you're having these conversations. I highly suggest one time a week going over what the events of the week are going to be for the next week, and what you two can do about it together to ensure that there's a balancing out of roles. Next, for sexual desire discrepancy, it's very common that there's relationship issues, either because sexual desire discrepancy has been going on for so long that we feel unwanted by our partner, or we feel completely not attracted to them, and there's other conflicts that come up as a result of that, and before you know it, we've become roommate status instead of lovers. And how do we get back to incorporating loving connection points throughout the day so that we are stimulating intimacy non-sexually as well, and getting a couples counselor involved should there be complex issues about the way you communicate, manage conflict, and seek intimacy. Every couple is unique. I have found very I've found some commonalities among most couples with sexual desire discrepancy, but I've also found a lot of things that are, unique to the couple that, as we work through, we see a huge difference. And honestly, it's the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, our bodies, about our partner, whether they want us or not, that really, even if somebody's trying to initiate sex, even though we've asked for it, we'll shut it down. And so those things need to be addressed. The second one is anorgasmia. Primary anorgasmia would be that we have never had the experience of having an orgasm before. And again, talk with your doctor. Ensure that there is nothing going on there. Sometimes we can see this commonly in people that have had some sort of sexual trauma or physical trauma background where they don't want to lose control, and an orgasm often takes this kind of loss of control and getting over that kind of we feel like this crest of intense emotions or sensations that we don't like will shut down because that feels overwhelming or different. And so, a lot of it is loss of control and leaning into your body and trusting your body. A lot of women will tell me like if they've never had an orgasm, that it feels like they're going to urinate themselves. I promise you, you're not. Your body can secrete a lot of lubrication at that point, and there are blankets and pads for that you can lay down on the bed should you have a hypersecretion of fluids during an orgasm experience. But again, you're not, I promise you're not going to urinate on your partner. And getting over that loss of control and learning to trust and lean into your body. Secondary orgasmia, I usually have seen as hormone structures change, as life changes and stress. And what I will usually recommend for that is the use of some sort of vibrating tool or sex toy that really does help with stimulating the clitoris for women to get to orgasm. And oftentimes orgasm, I think I read a study one time that showcases that 83% of women have an orgasm after 15 minutes of active stimulation. So it's really important, like our bodies won't even know that, like our bodies and our brains won't sync up and connect right off the bat. So you really have to get in touch with foreplay and ensure that you're not just trying to get to the wham bam thank you ma'am type of thing, but you're really trying to get your body and your brain to connect. And 15 minutes is usually the gold standard for leaning into foreplay. Again, I don't want you to have a time clock, but I want you to think it's going to take longer than a few minutes. And oftentimes I can see people get in their own heads and get really anxious about getting to orgasm really quickly because they're afraid that they're going to overwhelm their partner, or their partner is going to get bored or tired of them, or they're not good enough. And so it's addressing those things from the couple's perspective and talking with each other and understanding how your bodies work, and we're not rushing through the process. That sex is more about connection and mutual pleasure than it is about either person getting to orgasm, because when we put all the pressure on the sexual experience to culminate in an orgasm, and if it doesn't, somebody failed, then we're really setting you guys up for unsuccessful attempts, and then also just a lot of hurt and conflict. So we try as sex therapists to really educate that the purpose of sex is for mutual pleasure and not for orgasm, to take that pressure off. If you are having pain during sex, that is not normal. Okay. And some of you might know that, but some of you might not. There's many of my clients that have learned to accept that pain is a part of the process. And some people will even eroticize pain to manage it. And what I would like to say is, one, you need to talk to your doctor if you are experiencing pain. We need to have some tests run to ensure that there's no hormone issues, again, that could be causing this, or an allergy. it's my experience that painful intercourse, and again, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm only a licensed marriage and family therapist. So you do need to rely on your medical doctor here, that thyroid issues. And I've also seen people who like are allergic to latex or struggle with hormone birth controls. They will have more painful intercourse and then also be afraid of pregnancy. And so they will avoid sex altogether. So again, getting your treatment provider involved in your care is really important, and having a certified sex therapist along the path with you. But one of the main reasons we see painful intercourse is lack of lubrication and lack of foreplay. So you might need to add lubricant to your bedside table to use that. There's nothing wrong with you, I promise, that you have to use that, but I think it's really important that adequate lubrication is usually the main source of painful intercourse. So definitely looking into different types. Coconut oil, I know a lot of people like to use that. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, if you are using it in connection with a condom, it reduces the efficacy of a condom and pregnancy can result. So using like an oil-based lubricant, like KY or something like that, can be really helpful. Be very wary of using lidocaine infused lubricant, because what that does is it numbs the area for both partners, and what it often does, and you will see this prescribed by OBGYNs to use this, especially around painful intercourse, is it takes away your ability to connect with your body to see what's really feeling good and okay, and that can take away the pleasure of the experience and also your autonomy and your ability to communicate your needs. So it's not my first course of action. Lidocaine-based lubricant is really was really developed for anal play and pleasure, to reduce pain there and not necessarily vaginal penetration. So be wary of using that as your first round of support, and get the right treatment providers in place. The next one being erectile dysfunction. This is very common. I mean, most men throughout their lifespan will struggle in some way, shape, or form with erectile dysfunction. And the main indicator, one, again, talk to your provider, make sure your hormones for men like testosterone are functioning and well within range. But a lot of it's anxiety related. Like, I wasn't able to have an erection last time, or I wasn't able to orgasm, and I'm not going to please my partner. So then that anxiety will begin to build before they even have a sexual experience with their partner the next time. And a lot of people, when they have anxiety, will move towards avoidance. To kind of manage that anxiety. And what we want to do is make sure that you're not avoiding the issue, but that you're talking about it. And again, switching our mindset that sex is about me orgasming or my partner, and it's more about mutual pleasure. And there's a lot of ways to be intimate that don't require penetration, and can focus more on just stimulation and touch. So anxiety reduction techniques, ruling out any hormone components that could be at play, that's stressors, but anxiety is usually the bigger culprit in that. And it's a delicate subject and topic, and sometimes the way, like if you have a male partner that is avoiding sex and they have had a struggle with getting or maintaining an erection, is asking questions like, hey, I noticed that it's been a struggle and we've been kind of avoiding sex, and I'm wondering if you're feeling anxious about the ability to perform, and can we focus more on other forms of play, and getting sex toys involved, or maybe other sexually relevant stimuli into our, like, a sexually relevant stimuli is really important to understand, because all of us respond to a sexual stimulus. For some people, that's pornography. For some people, that's seeing an attractive person. For some people, that's reading a book. Another person, it could be seeing their partner do the dishes. Like, anything that we start to notice becomes sexually relevant to us is a sexually relevant stimulus that we can incorporate in the sexual play. And so we need to learn what those are for ourselves and for our partner, so we can start to talk about what's best for us. All right, I'm going to see you on the next module, and we'll be talking more about sex.